I really enjoyed living in the 1900s. I lived in the 1900s. I'm Oatmeal Joey Arnold, and I just wanted to talk for a second about my life in the 1900s. I'm just gonna limit it to just the 1900s. I'm gonna give you a brief outline. I could probably talk about this for 10 hours straight and not even scratch the surface. Alright, so Joey Arnold here. That's right, Joey Arnold. This video right now that you're watching is intended to be boring. Okay? I might stop being excited like I am right now. I kind of enjoy doing this. I think when I'm yelling and stuff, it might be a little entertaining. But the intention of this video is just me ranting. I'm going to try to rant and try to give you just a few references and a brief outline of a few different events from my memories and stuff from the top of my head from just the 1900s. The intention is I just want to try to exercise this mind of mine, this brain of mine. Try to just briefly outline my life in the 20th century, and then later on I may try to make a video just about each decade of my life, and then maybe every year of my life, and then take it from there. But I just wanted to start off big. Maybe I should have started the first video as my whole entire life. Oh well, maybe I could do that next time. But starting off with this one about my life in the 1900s, very simple. Born in 1985 in a small city in Oregon, and I was homeschooled. So born in 85. I remember the 1980s a little bit. Have a few memories. One of the first memories might have been when we went to see our great grandma's birthday. Go to her birthday party. Grandma Ann, my mom's mom, and Pical, and she was probably in her late 80s. This is in the summer of 1988. I was 3 years old. I remember the big pool, and there was like a piano and a bunch of big rooms, and there was a bunch of stairs, a bunch of steps at a park. I remember hopping in the car for the first time to go to Seattle and looking outside and seeing all these roads, the highways, bridges for the first time. Next memory, riding horses during a church picnic, probably in August, and then my mom gets hit by a car. After seeing my older sister, we were watching her do gymnastics, and we go home, and she gets hit by a car. My brother saves me, and I started doing some Bible clubs. Probably in 89. Yes, definitely in 89. I was in Cubbies. That's an Awana club. And then in the 90s, I was involved with more Awanas. I was in Sparky's. It's a Bible club, and you memorize scripture, Bible verses, and you say it, and then you get awards. And I got a lot of awards. They have lessons and games and singing, and it's like an hour and a half, and we would meet on Tuesdays nights, 6:30 to 8 or so, and in the evening, and at the end we would have cookies. And like I remember they had not just peanut butter cookies, which were good, but my favorite was usually the oatmeal cookies, and I enjoyed that. And at the end I got like a trophy because I did everything, and I was a good little boy. And I was also involved, what did I say? Did I already say Awanas? So I was involved with Word of Life. I don't know if I made that clear or not. I'm rambling. So I was involved in the Word of Life clubs, Bible clubs, like Olympians, and then I was involved in Awanas too at the same time. And so I'd go to Word of Life on Tuesday, And then I would go to Awanas on Wednesdays. And then later I started going to youth group a little early. You're supposed to start when you're like 14. I started when I was like 12 or something, like in 95, 96. There was a couple different youth groups I was going to, and sometimes at the same time, 2 or 3 at the same time. And they were usually on Fridays, and so my schedule was always busy, never bored. And when I wasn't doing that stuff, I was doing my own thing. I always wanted to build things, building tree forts, and we had a wagon, and I added walls to it and attached it to my bike around 94, 95, and was going to get people to buy tickets so they can pay me and have me drive them around in the neighborhood, the ghetto. Started playing basketball with, like, you go to school and you play with other kids, and that started like around 93. But that was after I was doing some other things, like went to the high school one time in October 92, and we did this thing where like we're learning how to wrestle with other kids and stuff. And I was in the newspaper. Somebody took a picture of me and of that, and that was interesting. I kind of enjoyed that, and then I did softball in the spring of 93, and then I believed I started doing basketball after that. I'm not exactly sure of the timeline, but I did start playing basketball around that time, and I always enjoyed playing basketball. We were playing video games all the time when we weren't running around outside. We had a Nintendo early on, probably since 1990 or something. Then we got the Super Nintendo in 92. The summer 92, I think. And then we got the Nintendo 64. Like probably the Christmas of 96, 97. And it came with the Mario 64 game, where I was playing that game a whole lot until I was able to beat it in like a year or two. And I became like an expert of the game early on. And I was playing the game so much. And then we got Mario Kart 64, and I became an expert of that. And I always wanted to beat everybody with that, in that. But we probably didn't get Mario Kart 64 until like a year later, for like Christmas or my birthday or something. And I always remember, getting these games for like my birthday or for Christmas, different video games or other things, but mostly video games. And it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed, getting things like, I remember getting a fighting game for my 9th birthday in 94, a Super Nintendo game called Rival Turf, and that was one of my favorites at that time. And I remember going to the Whiz Bang Videos. That's our favorite local video store to go to rent movies and video games. And we would go there throughout the 90s until they went out of business in like 98 or something. And we ended up buying a bunch of their Nintendo games, mostly regular Nintendo games, because they were trying to sell everything off as they were going out of business in 98 or 99. And it was sad to see that store go under, just like the last few years. Like in 2020, with a lot of businesses going under because of what. But this video is not about that. This video is about me. Okay. So it's like I enjoyed going there, and the store was like in one location, just like a few blocks from my house. I grew up in the ghetto, grew up in a trailer park, the Rose Grove Mobile Home Park, and we would go across the highway, this big street, and go to the store, go to that video store. It was one place, and then later on it was another place, and another place. Like, it was in like 3 or 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, like 4 or 5 places, and then it went back to the other place. Like, it went back and forth a few times, but about 4 different places. But that was interesting. As a kid, thinking about that, that was probably the only store that I knew of that would move around like that. I'd never heard of anything like that at that time. So, I got a stuffy nose right now, which is so me. So me. Because that's something I would have. I would always have a cold throughout my life, especially in the 90s, around this time of the year, maybe in the spring or summer, as the summer starts. And colds are not that bad, and you can deal with it. And you can deal with a lot of things in life, and you can deal with so many things, and I just wanted to deal with this thing that I'm making myself do. I really want to do it. I just want to make this video right now, so I'm making this video, and I'm trying to make it as short as possible, but I just wanted to say a bunch of things from the top of my head. I'm not looking at any notes. I'm just here ranting, trying to just say a few things, and then that's it. And then I'm just gonna stop this video and put it online regardless of anything. And this video, again, is not intended to be necessarily exciting, but going back to my life in the 1990s, I'm trying to remember, what did I do? Went to Disneyland in 92. It was during a family trip. Like, we went there to see my dad's family, his relatives. He didn't know who they were until my mom helped him find out who they were. And then eventually we were able to go there and find them, and even were able to meet his mom. My dad was adopted, and he didn't know until later on, and then he couldn't find his real parents or his real relatives. He didn't know anything. He didn't know a lot, and it was difficult, and my mom helped, and then we were able to go there and run into his mom and relatives and people like that in December of 92, and we stopped by Disneyland and with his half brother, and it was exciting for me, and that was my first time like doing something like that. And we were in the Greyhound bus going there. It took about a day and a half to get there from Oregon to the bottom part of California, and I was 7 years old in 92, and while I was in the bus, I was thinking about the concept of eternity, kind of, and that was like my first time thinking about it, I think. And I was just thinking, oh, forever and ever and ever. Well, how long is forever? And it's like forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever. I remember that. And in the 90s, I was drawing and I was writing, and loved the Turtles and saw their movies, and I have memories of like seeing Pee Wee Herman in like one of the movies where he's like at a farm with farm animals like pigs, and one of those movies are like from the 1980s, like 87 or 88, and I kind of remember that at that time. And after that, I have a list somewhere of all the different movies and everything else that I saw. But from the top of my head, the next thing I remember is the third movie of Back to the Future, and that one was exciting. And I remember seeing the Turtles movies, and especially the third one is the one I remember as the most, as far as like we went to the cinema to see the third one, and I was excited about it because I've already saw the first two, and so that was really exciting. I remember seeing Hook, where Robin Williams is Peter Pan and he's all grown up, and I was excited about seeing that. and I was always watching a lot of Robin Williams movies, and um, in 1990, I think I got saved, and I probably met Tiffany Cumbo that year or the next year, and we would go hiking, we would go camping as a family in the summer. Sometimes, not every year, we would go to the coast to see our aunt, our uncle, our cousins, like every summer. Usually every summer, that was like the highlight, one of the highlights of each year. Sometimes they would come for Christmas to say hello, drop off some presents, and I enjoyed that too. And I was always running around building stuff. Did I already talk about that? Building stuff, tree stuff in the trees, tree forts, and I talked about the wagon, a taxi wagon thing where I pull my bike around with the wagon taxi thing, but then the manager of the trailer park was like, you got to tear it down. And like we would build things, and then the managers would tell the management would tell us to tear it down. And so that happened a few different times around 93 or after 93, and throughout the 90s. And so I was building things with my hands as much as I could, and I started working with my dad. Me and my brother would work with my dad doing landscaping and yard work kind of stuff, and we'd go around. Sometimes we would all be riding bicycles, all three of us, going through the city and going to different houses to do work. And I started that a little bit when I was like 10, and sometimes my dad had a car and we would drive around to different cities and we would do the work, and I would get paid a little bit, like, whoa, $3 an hour, and that was a lot of money. And I just remember just having a lot of fun and being homeschooled throughout the whole entire realm of the 1900s. I started public school in high school. I decided I want to go to high school, and so I did that in 2000. But during the 1900s, during the 1990s, I was not in public school, and I was homeschooled, and I made my own schedule most of the time, or I don't know how often, but I was able to be in control a lot, and I would do book reports, and we had a lot of books in the house, a trailer with three bedrooms, and I was able to, just be a kid, and we would run around when we weren't inside playing video games. We were running around climbing trees and playing all kinds of games that you can imagine, going to the park and playing basketball and just running around and doing things. And I just remember a bunch of different kids playing. I was playing with all these different people, and some people say, well, if you're homeschooled, you don't interact with people, but I was interacting with people all the time, and people knocking on my window saying, oh, come out, oh no, I'm grounded. Sometimes I was grounded. I was a good kid most of the time, but I kind of remember that, like being grounded or something one time. And we had some like dogs early on, maybe 2, until 1991 or something, and we also had cats, and then we continued to have cats after that too. And I've always liked cats for more. I like cats more, and generally I like cats more than dogs. And then I had my own pets. I had mice, probably around 97 or 98, probably 98, and we had the first cat. Did I say cat? First mouse that we got from a pet store was cow. See, it looked like a cow. And then we probably got another one, and then they had a bunch of babies, and I stuck them in a tree, and they fell off and died. And I had a guinea pig named Oreo, and then I had another guinea pig named Rubra, Hercules, Roberto, and we had a bunch of cats like Poofer, who was the main villain in the second Power Rangers movie. He was the law cat, and yeah, here's what I wanted to say. This is why I stopped talking for a second. I was thinking, what did I want to say after that? Oh yeah, I was talking about one cat. Here's what I wanted to say right after that. I wanted to talk about my other cats. But I see the problem is I mentioned the Power Rangers, and I was like, wait a minute, let's talk about that. No, go back and talk about the cats. Okay, I will go back and talk about the cats. Don't get lost. Don't get distracted. Okay, cats. We had a bunch of cats, and one of them was Poofer, a gray cat with a white collar. I don't know. What do you call it when you have whiteness below your head, below your mouth, on your body? What do you call that? But white, but mostly gray. A gray cat. And then another famous cat we had was Honey. And I found her around 98 or 99, and that was pretty big. And then she was in The Cat's Life, like a documentary. Not a documentary, but it's like a movie, a series that I had that started in 2001. But that was exciting. So my memories, to sum things up, my memories of the 1900s is mostly just me running around as you would imagine, running around wild. Oatmeal, gone wild, huh? So I looked forward to hanging out with people at Bible clubs or on Sunday at church or youth group. I enjoyed hanging out with people. I enjoyed running around the neighborhood, playing games, riding my bicycle, a little bit of wrestling, hide and seek, tag, house with Tiffany, and maybe other people too, mostly her, but and then there was a bunch of other people too. And then I had one of my best friends. From my perspective, my best friend was next door to me. Two brothers, Bhakti and Jaya, and this was after the other kid that was there. What was his name? Brian or Ryan? I think his name was Ryan. And Ryan was there like 91, 92 when he moved there with his family. And then one day we were like hanging out. We were going out by the train tracks, by these trees a few blocks away from my house. And then he goes behind the tree and he kisses Tiffany Cumbo. And I was a little bit jealous, and I was probably about 7 or 8. So that's like 92, 93. Then he moved away. So I guess I didn't have to deal with that because I was, jealous because, she was my friend, but sometimes I liked her, sometimes I didn't. It kind of went back and forth a few times. But, sometimes I got jealous because, I knew her first. And, he moved away, and then in the, in the fall of 93, we got new neighbors. Probably the summer or the fall. Probably the summer. And so these new guys came, Bhakti and Jaya, and then the first things they did was come into my yard and climb the tree in the front yard without asking anybody. Just come, and that was kind of cool. I wasn't upset, but we became really good friends, and they were only there for a year, and then they moved away. But it was exciting. And then after that, then I met another guy who I regarded as a best friend for years, many years into like the early 2000s, and that was Billy, and his brother too. I mean, brother? What am I saying? Wow, what am I saying? What am I doing? What did I say, brother? And I meant to say, here's what I should have said. His sister. His sister, Janet. So, that was after those other two guys, my neighbors, Bhakti and Jai, they moved away. And then after that, like a few months later, or a year later, probably just a few months later, my younger sister is hanging out with Janet somehow, because she's like meeting everybody, and she's like, she knows everybody in the neighborhood, even though she's like only 4 years old, and she's really good at that. And so then I was kind of their enemy, Bill and Janet. I was their enemy, but I think, at least from my perspective, they were not happy. And the first time I went to their house, it must have been Janet who said, you better stay away, or else, my dad has a gun, something like that. And we became friends, and he had a Sega, Bill had a Sega, and we would play Sonic 2. And so I've seen Sonic before, because my brother had a friend across the street, Jesse, who had it. But this was a different Sonic game that was even cooler, because it wasn't like just the first one. The second one for the Sega Genesis was even cooler, faster, and we were playing that a lot, starting in 94 or 95. And so anyways, I have memories of all that kind of stuff, all of that, and there's more where that came from probably, and all those kinds of things in regards to like my memories with homeschooling and hanging out with people, hanging out with kids, and running around the park and whatever else that I did, and going to Bible clubs and going to youth groups, and going to things, and we had a homeschooling club, and we would go skating at Skate World as a homeschooling group. And we would go on field trips, because I was in the we were, as a family, we were in the homeschooling club, and we would meet like sometimes on like Tuesday nights, or maybe another night, but we were doing that, like doing all these different things all the time, doing events, going on field trips. And so I was a busy kid. I was always, doing something, hanging out with people, all kinds of people, all these different groups in the 90s, all the time. And I couldn't talk well until like 94, 95. And, they put hearing tubes in when I was like 1 or maybe younger. And maybe they took it out when I was like 10 or something. And, because I started hearing better, and I started improving, and I had some speech therapy when I was like 9 and 10 for like a year or two, and I had a lot of adventures with a lot of different people in the 1900s, and it was exciting, and there was all these different things happening, and throughout the 90s, and I grew up a lot in the 90s. In that small city, Forest Grove, which is outside of Hillsboro, which is outside of Beaverton, which is outside of Portland. And so it's like I'm like 20 to 40 miles west from Portland, 20 or more miles away from the ocean, the Pacific Ocean. And, just a small city. In the 90s, Forest Grove probably only had like 20,000 people at that time, maybe less. and now it probably only has like maybe a little bit more, but it's a pretty small city and a lot of adventures. And um, the highlight of the 90s and of the 1900s, I probably should have started off with this. Hold on. The highlight for the 1900s, according to me, from my life, probably should have started off with this. Out of all the things I could say about the 1900s, and especially as it relates to my life, and I want to say more about all of it, just to document it and stuff, about my memories and everything from the 1900s. I want to say more, but I'm gonna stop this video with one more thing. Just one more thing. Out of the many things I could say about the 1900s, I'm gonna end it with this one thing, and that is, in '96, we started making home videos. And my dad came home and got the camcorder for my brother for his birthday. He was turning 14. That was in February of '96. And the next day, we made a little video. The white Michael Jordan starring Joey Arnold. He's the white Michael Jordan. That was right after I made a video with my two sisters and Janet's sister. Janet has an older sister named Lisa. We made a movie. We made a small 5-minute video, Little Red Riding Hood. And right after that, my brother comes home from school. I think it was high school. And we made a small little video, the white Michael Jordan. And that was the first full day that we had that camcorder. And then that was a Friday. And then the next day, it was the second day of February, and early on in that day, we started filming the Power Rangers kids movie. That's what I've always wanted to call it. I don't know what I should call that movie exactly. I think I should call it the Power Ranger Kids, because we're all kids in the movie, and it's an hour long. It's basically a parody of the first movie that they had that came out. It came out the summer of '95. The Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie, starring the main villain was Ivan Ooze, and so he's in my movie too, because I was doing a parody and I had to do it. But then I made up a new character called Lot, and Lot was the main villain, the main bad guy. But that was the first big movie we ever made, and then we made a bunch of other movies that I could talk about another time. But we did a lot of that in '96 and a little bit in '97. We made some audio tapes off and on, like in the '90s, and there might be a little bit of something in the '80s too, maybe, but mostly the 1990s. And I enjoyed making videos in the 1990s. I enjoyed making audio tapes too. Like, in the audio tapes, there a few times, me and my brother would try to pretend to be a news company, like the radio. I mean, we try to give you like the news, like a news show, and like, tonight we're gonna tell you top news, and then we got the weather here, and then we got the sports, and tell us about the sports. All right. Oh, okay, Ricky. Do you have maybe he was the main guy. Then he would dish it out to me, toss it off to me, and then I would have my own segment, and I would cover the news, or I would cover the sports or the weather, and we would go back and forth and do a couple different segments for the news. That was on audio, and I have I have a little bit of that, as much as I could find from the audio tapes, and I'm gonna try to upload that, and that was fun too. Anyway, so from the top of my head and from the center of Earth, this is not Doomcock, but this is my own cock. What am I saying? So this is me telling you a few memories from the top of my head. I just wanted to do it. Just wanted to see how good I was. Maybe the next video I could do is My memories from the 2000s, but I have even more memories of the 2000s. So I don't know if I could do that, but anyways, this was the highlights. The highlights, maybe, somewhat, of the 1900s. That's it!